Where are we headed? Where are we headed?
That's a rough one, bro.
What you mean, Nike? What you mean? Well, you know what? Now
Things
we
ain't
kind of
looking
talked
good,
about this.
man, and it's gonna get a lot worse before it
Precise
gets any
though.
better.
Hold up. I'm still in.
Oh, okay.
He said, "Hold on, hold on."
Hey,
Go
Sice,
ahead.
don't come back on this Joe with no shirt on, even trying to get some bees, man. Come on.
Yeah, he's trying to get his B game on.
All right, go ahead, Nike.
No, but
Where we
seriously,
headed, man?
I think it's gonna get a lot worse uh before it gets better.
Now, what's gonna get
I,
worse, Nike? What do
I
you mean,
think
man?
because our economy is gonna hit proportions similar to the Great Depression.
You think so?
I think so. Because it kind of has to at this point because of the way everything is structured, right?
Hmm.
Because they have this global economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our economy is based on other countries' economies.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this war is affecting us so much, right?
Good evening, Lynette.
Because our pipelines to energy to unsustainable energy is fragile, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they block just like now. So they if they have trouble getting that gas through the pipeline to other countries,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to affect their production, which
Mm-hmm.
in turn is going to affect our production, or
Mm-hmm.
actually not even our production, because we don't manufacture a bunch of stuff like we used to in the industrial age.
Mm-hmm.
America makes this money now basically on war. That's how we make money.
Well,
We
it's a
we, we
service
don't put
economy.
out a lot of products and manufacturing, and we got all this competition in steel and
Well,
oil and
they
all of
they
these other things.
they stopped making a lot of the we stopped manufacturing a lot of the lower value
Right. Our
items. You know, those
industrial
went over.
age is just about over, right?
We're now
And
like
the
more
thing
high
is,
tech and service. You
yeah,
know,
and
high
this
tech and
this
service
global economy now makes it where everything is dependent,
on each other, right?
is
Yeah.
interdependent. So
And
there's
in
a
a
lot of
way, that's good though.
interdependencies
In a
that
way, that's
we
good. In a
right.
way, that's good because that makes you think twice about doing some stupid stuff. If you know that, look at Russia now. He made his comment about his nuclear weapons because they're pulling the banks off of this SWIFT system that they use to handle their financing.
Yeah,
So
they already had two of those guys commit suicide already,
who
and
in
this
Russia?
shit is just starting.
I
Yeah,
mean, but what I'm saying is that, and Shice mentioned it earlier. You talk about NATO and things like that. It's good when we look at ourselves and act like we're one world economy, because you know if you do something stupid, it's gonna come back and negatively affect you. So I think that that's a positive. That's a positive that
it
the
kind of
economies
is
are
a positive
interconnected.
when it's working the way it's supposed to,
True.
but it's a negative. Like I said, when some that interdependent link is so tight or
Mm,
so strong that when one chain in that link
mm,
breaks, it
mhm.
breaks the whole thing,
True.
right?
True.
So we're at a we don't manufacture a lot of our own oil, right? I
We
mean,
do.
we get some
We
here in Louisiana, we
right.
get
Right.
some in
Texas.
Texas,
Right.
but not to the like the Saudis. We
No.
don't have oil like that.
No.
Like the Ukraine over there, we don't have oil like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So our we're dependent on a lot of
Mm-hmm. Oil producing
these other
countries. Right.
countries,
Mm-hmm.
and when shit gets bad for them, it trickles down to us. It's like almost like that Reaganomics, the trickle
Yeah.
down economy shit
Right.
that they
Yeah.
was talking.
Yeah.
It's like that,
It's
but
the
on a
economy.
global scale now.
Now,
Yeah,
now, let me say this, and then we coming to you, Shice. And maybe like we said earlier, Nike, when you before you came on, maybe it's also has something to do with your perspective, because I look at it as a positive, because the, I think that we need to realize and we need to think that or realize that some of that nonsense that we were doing is affecting us negatively. You know what I mean? We are interconnected. I think things like this make us realize, like, okay, you know what? If I do something too crazy over there, it's going to swing back and kick me and my country in the balls. So
But it already is happening.
I know, but what I'm saying is that now let's put Russia to the side, because you're gonna have madmen that do things. That's gonna happen, but it makes other people think twice about taking those same types of actions. You know what I mean? Because if you're a president and you're thinking about doing something that's gonna swing back and affect you negatively, you'll think twice about it. So, like I said, I think that's a positive. Look at the countries now that are thinking about joining NATO. You know what I mean? NATO was supposed to be a stabilizing force and you handle your disagreements at that body. You go to NATO to argue, to prevent wars. But there were some countries that weren't too pressed about joining. Now they
like
are.
China, right? So let's take China for instance.
Ice, you coming up next?
If China decides to call their what do you call it when a shareholder
take their investments out, right?
Move their investments. So if they decide to call in their merger, not merger or whatever, they call in their chips,
right?
And they want their money. What the U.S. gonna do then?
Calling ours. We're still the biggest economy. We are still the biggest economy out there. China is still not. They are growing. They're growing, but they're two things. They're slowing down. Their growth is slowing down, and they're still not. Their economy is still not larger than ours. So go ahead, Shice. What do you think, man? Where we headed?
So we see where we headed. It's hard to, we can't play Nostradamus because we don't know. We can look at some clues. I grew up in the church, right? And I always heard of, end days, famine, disease, and war would rip us apart. So that always sticks into my mind, on the spiritual side. But humanity, I believe, can evolve and adapt. We always seen it evolve and adapt. Will the world look the same? No.
Right.
Could it look better? Of course it could. If we got, like you say, madmen. If you had Russia and China acting wild, then you got all the forces of the world go together to try to slow Russia and China down. That just throws everything in the flux. And where are we going? So we got mad people that sit up there still trying to do global dominations, like this Alexander the Great or they Hitler or Napoleon. Like we got, as human beings, we got to get off that.
Right.
Yeah, you lost Ukraine.
You lost Ukraine. Let them people live.
Right.
Let them deal with their own problems. But somebody says, Putin said, I want to be a global force and big dog things. So when you say where we headed, I don't know. I just believe humanity will always survive and adapt. It might not look the same. It might get rough, ugly, and bloody.
Right. Yep.
But we'll survive. We'll survive, and the world will do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
That gas can go to $10 a gallon. We're gonna figure it out.
It kills me that we don't learn from history.
Right.
Trying to run the world or most of the world, it's problematic.
Right.
Because people are not going to roll over and let you do it.
Right.
So all you're doing is having these great conflicts that basically this ain't the first time the world had to reset.
Right.
Had to reset after World War II. You had the Great Depression.
But you know what, Shice? I'll say this to both of y'all also. And it kind of brings the conversation full circle. One of the first things you mentioned, Shice, when we first started talking was about seeing the video clips of how the Africans are being treated. I think even that's a positive, because now, again, that's further helping to interconnect the people. And I think for the most part, now you have people, we still have racism and all that kind of stuff. But I think that for the most part, most people just want to live. So most people don't want to stand back and just allow injustice to happen.
Well, injustice has been happening in Africa forever. You got Rwanda, Libya. We could go on and on about all the countries that happen in America, Sudan, South Africa, and we sat back. The rest of the world, let it happen. Look how long we lived through apartheid. That thing went on forever before they finally got.
But what I'm getting at is, even if we take a look at the way things are today, when we were in the street, protesting the murders and all that kind of stuff, it wasn't just us. You had, it was like a rainbow. It was, it was more.
Always been a rainbow. It was a rainbow when they protest Vietnam.
And,
But going back to what I said, States, when
people around the
when you
world.
was outside doing apartheid, was black people running around talking about apartheid generally? No.
Right.
You had some people that were conscious, globally aware, that was saying divest from. We need to divest from South Africa. We need to do something. Mandela stayed in jail for 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So we didn't pay attention to Africa then. We're not gonna pay attention to Africans in the Ukraine that's suffering. We didn't pay attention when they showed how China was doing to Africans a couple of years ago.
And still are, and they still are. Africa
Yeah.
is getting raped over there, man.
Yeah.
They all of the natural resources over there are owned by other countries. That's crazy.
You know what? Now I'll say this in that vein, though. I mean, something does have to give in the continent of Africa. You know, I don't know. You know what
This
the answer is.
too.
Well, true. You know, but with that being said, though, Nike, I mean, you know, you and I always talk. Actually, all of us talk about change happening, the speed of it. It might not be happening fast, but there is change happening. You know, there is change happening here.
The world's always changing, good, bad, or
This change that's coming now is happening pretty fast.
Which you talking about? You talking about on the negative
last
side?
couple years of your life. Wait,
you talking about going negative?
The last couple of years of your life as compared to, let's say 2010 to like 2018.
Are you saying getting worse or getting better
than what we live in now?
No, but are you saying look at the last couple of years of your life as it gets worse, or is it getting better?
I think it's actually getting worse because look, the gas prices are steadily going up. Food shortages is here now. Like the stuff ain't on the shelves like it used to be. Stuff is changing so rapidly that we still not even realizing that stuff that has already happened. We haven't felt the effects of it yet.
To Terry's point, we talking about last 2 years. We've been yelling Black Lives Matter. We've been in a pandemic. We watched white people storm the Capitol. And this is in the last 2 years. People was like, yo, 2020 was crazy. Then 2021 was crazy. And now we got war that we don't know what's going to do to the globe. So like you said, in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, been crazy in the last 15.
I can ride with that. You know, the pandemic was, you know, kind of out of nowhere, you know, but when we talk about race relations and things like that, us being in the street, you know, Black Lives Matter, the whole nine, is it possible though that this stuff that we're seeing now are part of the last vestiges of people realizing that change is coming? So that's people trying to hold on to what was. I
think that's part of it.
Right.
So
if that's a
white people got scared of what Latino population is rising. They're the second biggest minority them past black people in America. The Asian population is rising. If you put all non-whites against whites, they're the minority now.
Right. So that's a positive. So that's like, you know, they you know, being backed into a corner, and now you're fighting to get out of that corner.
Positive.
And that's what's going on.
Trump, and then after Trump got kicked out, they climbed the wall.
Say it again.
That's how it's so positive that they elected Trump. We had to live through that. Right. And then when he got voted out, we watched him climb over, raise the Capitol.
That's right.
We watched what happened in Virginia.
Right. Yeah.
Like we've really been watching white and black people fighting in the street and had to scream Black Lives Matter. So I don't know if we scream better or worse. It's just changing.
Right.
I agree. I totally agree with what you said. They are afraid of what's coming.
Right.
They are scared to be the minority.
They named it Fear of a Black Planet.
Right. Yeah. They're scared to be the minority. And that's why things are happening the way they're happening. That makes perfect sense. Like if you think about everything in a bubble, right? You got this one people who have all the power, right? And they've had it forever. But now they see that, okay, you have all these black movements, right? Then you can have all these Latino movements. Then you have all of these on social media, you know, people getting canceled and people ain't taking other people's shit no more.
Right.
So
he got his hat on. So
they like, man, things are going crazy. We can't say what we want no more. We can't do what we want no more. We can't treat people the way we want to treat them no more. You know what I'm saying? So in their mind, they like, man, we losing control.
But
the Karen phenomenon been recorded for the last 2 years. We already knew they existed in the Till days and before. But we watch them on camera, can't get their way, and look like white women have a nervous breakdown because they can't get their way.
So again,
we came up with a whole new term for them in the last 2 years.
But now that's so from their perspective, it's a negative. But from our perspective, and I'll even go a step further and say society as a whole, it's a positive. Because this change is coming, it's including more people, and also a lot of the folk that are of good mind and good spirit are saying, wait a minute, you know, this isn't right. You know, I'm getting out in the street with them because Black lives do matter. So again, you know, it is
but
a positive.
until they relinquish that power, or that power is taken away from them.
What's up, Zion?
Then it's going to always be a constant
this
battle.
This is where it's
going to be a constant battle between the haves
and
the have-nots, or the white haves and the everybody else that have and have not. So their base is shrinking. Their actual base is shrinking. That's why if you look at the Republican Party right now, there's a lot of people who want to be Republican, but they like, man, these cats is even crazy for me right now.
Right, absolutely.
You know, like I would say again, I always try to figure historically in my own experiences. Historically, white folks, when they got involved with the civil rights movement and the militant movement, white folks backing the Panthers, liberals with their money. You had the same thing with the civil. They jack it and take it over. So they jack it and take it over to the point that we watch Jews and white women get a lot more rights than we did when we were the foot soldiers during the civil rights movement. Sure. And again, I was downtown Center City, City Hall, Black Lives Matter, all these white folks. And I'm standing with Jay Nas. You know Jay Nas. Yeah. Nobody even talking to us.
Wow.
They all talking for us, making speeches. And I said, that's a lot of privilege you showing. That you're talking about Black Lives Matter and nobody's talking to us. You got everybody else speaking for us. Don't even look our way. But I was down there to do spoken word on supposed protest. Then when they hear me do poetry, now these white people want to talk to me. So they've always been about privilege. You got to understand, just because they march with you, they're still not ready to give up their privilege in this country that they're willing to share with you. Because if they was, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
And the thing is, a lot of people
fighting that we don't have to die, but they ain't ready to stop gentrifying, redlining our communities.
And a lot of thing is they don't recognize the privilege that they have. And,
they do.
And it's like, I don't necessarily blame them for that.
Because if you had the upper hand,
they have to be
no, we don't.
That they
no. I was wondering if that's what Mike was saying. He said I don't blame him. Are you saying because if you had the upper hand, you would use it?
No. What I'm saying is, so just like we've always grown up black, right? We've always grown up black.
Not me,
and we've always and we've always grown up underprivileged. No, listen. We've always grown up black and we've always grown up underprivileged, right? So we know what that looks like. They don't like privileged white people don't understand what that is. They don't understand what that looks like. They like, oh yeah, well he had it bad because you know they killed.
So you said ignorant. They were just ignorant.
Killing them. You know, and they sympathize, but they don't understand the privilege that they have just for being them.
Right.
Just for being in the system that they're in, they don't recognize because, like, if you don't, what's that saying we say? If you don't know,
you don't know what you don't know. Right.
No,
right.
You don't know what you don't know.
I'm gonna have to push back on that because that's willfully ignorant. You've been here long enough. You're adults. 30 years old, 20 years old, 40 years. Black people having conversations about black people, about white privilege, and I watch them deny it. If you're going to deny, I would not deny male privilege to a woman. But women say, yo, as a man, you have certain privileges in this society. And for me to say no, that's willfully ignorant or just lying. And I think white people do that. They know their privilege. They know it. They will not trick. I give you damn, I forgot that white lady name. But she said, if y'all could take a pill and change your complexion to black, would you do it? White folks in that audience is like, not one of them raised their hand.
So in other words, that it doesn't
benefit. You know it's a difference.
Beneficial, right. All right. So listen, we run out of time.